Hello and welcome to Cindershadow Gaming. I'm your host Cindershadow, and today we're going to do a little dive into my personal life and stuff that affects me on a regular basis and has been affecting me for more than 20 years. So I know this was one of the topics that people asked me to do a while ago, and I figured now's the time to do it. I have a disease, and the disease that I have is a irritable bowel disease, or irritable bowel syndrome is the two different categories they go under. And what it is, if you guys have ever heard of Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, and I have the latter, the ulcerative colitis version of a irritable bowel disease. And what it is it's inflammation that affects the colon, and I will have it with me for the rest of my life. Now, tracing back to a time, I'm about 40 years old now, and back when I was 18, 19 years old, I was having certain complications that were unexplainable, and I had doctors shrug it off saying, oh, don't worry about it, it's other things that are affecting your digestive system, it's nothing to worry about, we won't bother running tests or anything like that. Then fast forward a few years of dealing with these things, and things just seemed to progress to get to worse. It got to the point where I couldn't eat certain things like even salad, raw vegetables. Even having like a simple alcoholic drink or a coffee in the morning, and I would be running to the bathroom approximately 10 minutes after consuming, and it would be throughout my body gone. I was at a weight, I was at a decent weight. I wasn't like losing profusely weight, but for some people, it can very badly affect them to the point where they can't gain weight and their body starts to digest itself. And what it is this disease is constantly attacking my system. It's constantly attacking my colon and my intestines, and it's always doing this throughout the day and everything like that. And what it does is it causes a certain level of spasming that you just can't sit there and get constant relief, and it's really a disgusting disease when you think about it and think of the way things are with it, and thus a lot of people don't open up and don't talk about it. And with myself, I have opened up. I said, I have this is what I deal with, and it's something that I do deal with on a regular basis. I am on a medication. It's a biological drug, and I started that regimen about 5 years ago. And ever since I started that biological injection drug, my symptoms have gone into what they call as a remission. And it's to the point where things don't flare up as badly. Now, before this medication, I would eat, I would then lay down on my couch for probably a good 10, 20 minutes, writhing in constant pain with no relief. And between sitting there in a ball of just this constant pain, I would be running to the bathroom and then going back and laying on the couch writhing in pain. This would go on for hours on end after I would eat a meal. And it was to the point where my life wasn't functionable. I couldn't even focus. I couldn't do anything other than go to the bathroom or sit there in pain. And it caused quite a bit of stress. It caused a depressive state, and to the point where I actually did seek out help. I was like, I can't live like this. I need some sort of help. I need some sort of relief. This is all while I am trying to do my career as an electrician. And I had at one point, when I was an electrician, I had the urge that I had to go. And this is back when I was working in my residential days as an electrician wiring up houses. and there was no bathroom on the site. It literally was a drive down the road, and I got into the work vehicle to drive down the road, in the meanwhile trying to hold my system from actually exploding, and I actually crashed the vehicle. It was that bad. It truly affected my health, my work, and it really was that bad that I couldn't. It was either deal with this, live in constant pain, or being on the toilet and not being who I am. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the specialists I see on a regular basis, and the drug that I take now. Now, the thing with the drug, it does lower my immune system, so the world event we're going through has been very scary in that sense. Now, at the time, the vehicle that I did crash was a work vehicle. It ended up costing the company a few $1,000s worth of damages, and it actually caused me some grief because between the vehicle and my work and having to deal with fines that I actually did receive from it, it was something that I, at the time, didn't know much about. And looking back on it, if I knew what I knew then, what I know now, things would have been a lot different and I would have been able to deal with that. So, this is part of the reason why I am bringing this story to the light, because if anyone does ever see this, they can maybe look into the stuff they need. Um, it wasn't until I was working out of town, many hours away from my home, and dealing with it up there in these camps where I was having, you wouldn't be able to function normally, and I was always worried where the next bathroom was, and I was not able to properly function as a human being. It affected my work, it affected everything of my life. And it was to the point where I wasn't sure which direction was to go. It wasn't until I saw a therapist saying, listen, I can't do this. Something is getting me down. It put me in such a depressive state that I couldn't. I didn't want to get up for the day. There was many days I called in sick to work, and work was noticing the difference in that, and they were starting to try and punish me for these call-in sicks and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I actually got diagnosed that I everything started to make sense. Now, there is many different options out there that people do get affected by that. If you are ever thinking, or if you're newly diagnosed in this, the one book that has helped me in this is Crohn's and Colitis Diet Guide. It's got a bunch of recipes that you can follow, but recipes and everything in them are not something that I would say follow. If you are being affected by Crohn's or colitis or an irritable bowel syndrome, your best bet is to actually keep a food journal. With that journal, you can pinpoint certain things that will affect your health and you can avoid. I figured out through this journal, I couldn't have certain things like sesame seeds. I can't have nuts. I can't have regular milk. I have to have lactose-free milk, but it also means I can't have almond milk or any nut milk. I can have peanut butter and stuff like that, but I can't have them in a solid form. And same thing with seeds. Seeds are another big one that you can't really generally have. I used to be able to try and have a hamburger from like McDonald's or A&W, and they would come on a sesame seed bun. And it wasn't until I realized that the bun itself was part of my triggers, and that is something that you become aware of. And once you're aware of that, you can start to avoid that and make the psychological or make the food choices that you can. This even came down to where I couldn't have margarine, and I do have to have butter instead of margarine with my diet. And unfortunately, I'm having other effects with that now that I'm able to eat and do everything. I've got to get onto some sort of regimen where I get back to a healthy weight level and everything like that. I've gone from a slightly underweight to now an overweight person that needs to do some sort of dieting. However, that dieting isn't really something that I really can do because I can only eat certain things. I can't sit there and say I need to only go to a salad. I can't. I still have problems to this day if I go 4 or 5 days in a row of just eating a salad. I can have a salad once or twice, um like once a day and then the next day, but if I do that 3 days in a row, then it just causes me more hassle and grief. And what it is your body doesn't digest stuff. I was suffering from things like arthritis in my knees, arthritis in my hands, my joints hurt, everything hurt. My gut was brutal, and it wasn't until I actually got scoped that they found that I had ulcers and everything like that. I had polyps that they had removed quite a bit, and it is a constant fear of always having these things. Certain side effects, if you guys have been with the channel for a while, you can see that I do break out in acne and stuff like that. And that is one of the side effects of the med that I'm on. I really do look at it and go, you know what? The acne is the least of my worries. I can deal with a little bit of acne and just move on from that. I try to do what I can, but at the same time, there's a certain level that my body is just saying that you're not healthy, and that's part of having irritable bowel disease and trying to deal with it on a regular basis. Now, I know I mentioned earlier with the world event and stuff like that, this biological drug is an immunosuppressant, and because of that, I am more susceptible to being in the higher risk category for certain things. I do get my flu shot every year. I get fully vaccinated when I can, and I know people sit there and say, you know, with the things that are going on with the world event, maybe the vaccine isn't something that you want to look at right away. But for myself, because I do have that worry, if I do get sick, I want to avoid the high end risk side of things. Whereas if I was to catch whatever is out there, I will suffer from lower versions of that and not be. I may still be hospitalized, but I won't be hospitalized to the point where I have to be in an ICU or anything like that. I would have a much lower effect of it, even if it does affect my body to that system. It's been a long time coming to talk about stuff like this. So, you know, like I said, if anyone has questions about an irritable bowel disease or ulcerative colitis, I can probably answer quite a bit. I know recently I did see another YouTuber where he's suffering from certain things, and I did leave comments on that channel saying, you know what, maybe you need to get some blood work done, get things done, and get things looked at. And that's the one thing that you can do. For the longest time, we always thought I had a very overactive immune system where I would sneeze or have hay fever every time of the year. Spring and fall, very particular. Spring, usually we thought it was a snow mold. No, this is my immune system was always overactive. Something had kicked it into high gear at a very young age. Now, things with an irritable bowel disease, especially with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, they are kind of one and the same. Crohn's tends to affect the entire body, where ulcerative colitis only affects the lower part of your colon or your intestines. And my doctor has gone back and forth between the two, thinking it's one or the other, but they finally did settle on ulcerative colitis, which can be short form for UC. And because of that, we've been able to really adjust what I need for medications and deal with that entirely. I was diagnosed when I was 30. I am 40 now. I had symptoms of this back when I was 18, 19 years old, to the point where I got worried. I was very scared at one point when certain things were going on, especially when you sit there and bleed suddenly and you don't know why. And you go to the emergency room and then they turn around and tell you that it's nothing. Don't worry about it. This is just something that happens if you've eaten wrong or drank too much the night before or something like that. And it was like, It was something that I just shrugged off and was like, okay, I guess it's nothing. I went to the doctor trying to get arthritis dealt with because my knees were to the point where it was painful. I could barely walk. And ever since I got diagnosed, I've been able to digest food properly. And what it is your body is not ingesting nutrients that you need. And that's why things just seem to go awry. And part of the reason why you get into a very depressive state when you don't get the proper health and nutrition out of your food, this is something that does affect that. So, like I said before, if you are suffering from any of these things like depression, or where you're having to go to the bathroom quite a bit, or you're getting sudden gut pains after you eat, or something like that, get it looked at, because you don't want to live through life with these pains. And I gotta say, if I pressed it a little bit more, then maybe I would have been diagnosed a lot sooner, and it wouldn't have been like 10 plus years before figuring out that this disease was treatable, and to put it into remission and be able to live a normal functioning life. Now, with an IBD or Crohn's and colitis in the sense, they are not curable. There is no 100% cure. It's an ongoing battle, and it really does affect mostly in Canada and North American markets. It's approximately 1 in 250 people do get diagnosed with these things, with an IBD, and until you actually get diagnosed with it, you don't actually know that you have it. Um, One other note there, which is really strange, and it's something I actually share with Mel Gibson. This is something else to look up. It doesn't affect your health or whatever, but I have what's called a horseshoe kidney. And during one of the tests, when they were doing an ultrasound on my stomach, they stopped the test and they were calling in all of these people from the room, because it's like 1 in 2,000 people have like a horseshoe kidney. And it's otherwise known as it can be known as a super kidney, but a super kidney is actually a different term altogether. And that's where your kidneys are more sponge like, and there's other things that go with that. But a horseshoe kidney is just, the shape is a horseshoe, and it's something that you're born with. It's like a conjoined sort of kidney. Like my two kidneys are kind of conjoined from my understanding of it. And if I ever have to donate my kidney, which I can anyway because of the biological drug, it would be, they'd have to remove them all at once. And then, yeah, there's a few complications there, but ultimately, because you have this bigger kidney, it does filter things a lot better in that sense. So it's kind of superhuman in that point, but it's not. It's a strange part of evolution with the human body. Anyway, guys, these are certain things that I deal with on a regular basis. I hope you did find this informative, and maybe a little bit of a look in on who I am and what I deal with on a regular basis. Things are quite good in the sense, I feel great. I feel a lot better than I used to. I can have the energy. I don't have constant pain, and it's something that I can deal with and manage now. Anyway, guys, if you found this informative, do give a like down below. Leave me your comments. If you have any questions about this that you want me to answer, leave me a question down below. I'll try and answer it the best I can. Until next time, do like, subscribe, and everything with the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.